record really quick because I forgot to do that. And then having the confidence to advocate for yourself as a professional with clear communication skills. So not only do I want you to identify these skills, I also want you to be able to say it out loud and kind of know what you're talking about and what skills you should be highlighting. So let's keep going. So, do our classes count? Does unpaid experience count? In my opinion, experience is experience. That means whether it's a volunteer experience, it's unpaid, maybe it was in one of your classes and it was a project that you worked on. If you gained those skills from that thing and you can advocate for yourself and talk about them and they apply to what you are applying to, experience is experience. So that could potentially mean you going back through some of your syllabi and looking through the different projects that you worked on and saying, hey, did I develop this skill during this project or this class? And how can I then talk about it on my resume? So I hope that that widens the net a little bit more of like, I'm limited to only the things that I've worked at, Chick-fil-A, Jamba Juice, etc. to, hey, it's actually much more than that. And you'll also come to find out that even those Chick-fil-A and Jamba Juice jobs have some of those transferable skills that you can take away. But how can we expand upon that and pull from our experiences from everywhere to then build kind of a character portfolio of who we are? So I also wanted to talk about how your degree can count up to 2 years of your experience after you graduate. So that means if you've graduated and you're looking for jobs, anything that says 0 to 2 years, I always like to sit and consider the skills are they asking? Are those things that I developed at my time at Eckerd? If you can say yes, then you can absolutely count that to up to 2 years of experience and probably apply for a few more jobs slash get a little bit more money potentially for an entry level job because you have that experience that they're asking for. Your degree will hold the strongest representation of your experience at this moment in time. So I like to identify this because recruiters can potentially look at a resume for anywhere from 30 seconds, maybe a minute. If we're lucky and they look at it longer, then wonderful. But a lot of recruiter professionals that I've talked to actually look at their resumes very, very briefly. This can mean that you might have to put the sections of your resume in very specific ways. So when they're quickly looking at it, they get the correct information that they need. So sometimes I like to say we have to make a resume for dummies who are going to go through it really, really quickly. So that could potentially mean putting your education first. We should definitely be putting our education first, especially if we're working on our degree or have recently graduated, mostly because you've been working on your degree for a very, very long time, right? 13 years, 14 years. Now you're getting into maybe 15 years of working on this degree. That is your strongest point of experience at this time. Um, I think additionally, your experience does not need to be divided between paid and unpaid. Like I said, be more specific. So you might look at your experience section and it might just say work experience, or it might just say paid work experience, volunteer experience. Let's be more specific, right? If I'm an employer and I want to just identify your skills, and I don't want you to downplay your skills by saying, hey, it was unpaid, so it doesn't mean as much, it's going to go lower. Let's then break it down into maybe leadership experience. Maybe that's a strong skill that they're going to be looking that you have. Maybe it's research experience. I see that that's really popular for a lot of people who might be studying marine science or any very science heavy. They might prioritize a research section and be able to put a lot of their research from school into this section instead. So, lastly, I wanted to talk about kind of just reflecting on the specific projects that display the skills that you're seeking to reflect. And we'll kind of get into a little bit of how do you identify these skills? Like, how do we even know what skills we should be talking about for the jobs that we want? So, what is a transferable skill? A transferable skill is something that you've gathered from your classes, from your internships, from your jobs that are then going to transfer over to someone to the next career that you're going into. So that could mean something like communication. Well, I can think of many, many jobs that actually prioritize communication as a strong skill that they're looking for. And communication can be learned many different ways, either through school, through those internships, or maybe even in your full time job. Um, so those transferable skills are going to be ways that you can demonstrate your ability to succeed in a new environment. It's really focused on that adaptability, right? Can you adapt some of these softer skills into the new role that you're going into? um, Recognizing those is the strongest way that you can kind of talk about yourself and advocate for yourself and kind of prove that you know what you're doing. Being able to kind of identify those skills that we have in ourselves. So there's a few ways that I kind of get a list of skills that I'm trying to recognize in myself and portray. And here are a few websites that I'm going to recommend that you go to. So I'm going to go to Onet Online and show us that resource first. So Onet Online is actually backed by government data of jobs out there. They're getting all this information on how much jobs are paying, if they're slowing down on availability or they're speeding up. It could be what kind of skills they take. So, does anyone want to volunteer and unmute and give me maybe a job that we can break down together? Anyone? I'm probably going to wait until one person does. Anything. What's a job that you guys are interested in right now?
Oceanography.
Hang on, I'm turning up my volume. Can you tell me one more time?
Being an oceanographer.
Oceanographer. Love that.
Yes.
Thank you. Perf. Yeah. So let's get into it. Oceanographer. Do they have to say? Okay. So straight up oceanographer, not on here, but I'm going to break down why it's not specifically on there because we're going to look at actually like geoscientists, and this is like excluding those, right? So it could be a list of many different job titles, right? If we're saying we want to go into oceanography, that's kind of specific. I wonder what jobs are like similar and surrounding these that we can kind of look into and see, oh, I could go into probably something different as well as oceanography. So I say play around with these different sections as well to see which one will closely align to the job that you're looking for and pay attention to the sample of reported jobs to see, hey, does this make sense? Is this kind of what I'm going for? And then we have all the information to really break it down and reflect. Is this a job that I would want to do? Is this a job that I already have the skills to do? Where are my gaps? Are some of these things, some of these tasks that I'm reading, things that I've never done before or I can never see myself do? Have I already put some of this on my resume and I'm kind of good to go? Am I clearly aligned to what they're asking for? So to me, I kind of go through here. I'm like, okay, plan or conduct geological, geochemical, or geophysical field studies, surveys, sample collection. So maybe some of you guys are thinking, oh, well, I've done some of that. Drilling, testing programs, and collecting data. There's a lot of information on this page that you can go into and kind of double check with yourself if you already have these skills and have you already communicate them. But the most important part of this conversation is if we scroll down and we get to a little section called transferable skills, which we just talked about. So these are some of those transferable skills that they're saying, hey, if you want to go into this field, these are some of those transferable skills that we would like you to have. Complex problem solving, judgment and decision making, systems analysis, systems evaluation, coordination, instructing, and social perceptiveness. Cool. I want you guys to reflect and think, where have I already done this? Because I'm going to tell you right now, complex problem solving, all of you guys have practiced this in some sense, but have you translated it onto your resume? That's the questions that I would be asking myself. And if not, what can we pull for to include these things? Judgment and decision making. Have you done that in maybe a class? Um, cool. So I use this to my advantage. And honestly, if you guys have some extra time, I think this can help in your job search as well. And I'll show you how I use that to my ability. Go down to here to job search and job openings on the web. And if we just look in Florida in general, okay, cool. There's a lot of different positions that we would have to kind of look into to see if we qualify for them and if they fit us. Or maybe we can look down here, utilizes advanced scientific principles, theories, and practices, interprets and records data, exercises considerable latitude in determining technical objectives for assignments. And now this is kind of giving us the key of some of those transferable skills that this specific company might be asking for this position. So now we can kind of best set ourselves up for success by closely aligning our materials to what they're asking for. So it's a little bit of a flexible process of then catering yourself and your resume to what they are asking for. Okay, let's go back over here. I'm going to briefly show you this resource as well. This is what can I do with my major? And some of you guys already know what you want to do with your major. I almost don't even use it for that purpose of, or I use it more for the purpose of kind of discovering how we can expand our search and what resources are out there for the degree that we're trying to get. So just for an example, I'm going to show you guys the Marine Science Board. And it's broken down into marine bio, marine geo, marine chem, and education. So what do each of these sections kind of look like? They'll give you common career paths to give you a good idea of where to get started in order, like if you're looking for a specific type of job, employers, but really what I want us to focus on is the strategy sections. What could we implement from these? Like develop physical stamina, outdoor skills, comfort being in the water or working on a boat. Is that something that you can do outside of a job to help enhance these skills that will make you better for what you're applying to? If you scroll to the very bottom of this, there's professional associations that you would be able to join. And the benefit of joining a professional association is not only to surround yourself by hopefully who's going to be your future colleagues, but additionally stay up to date to information that's happening in the world that you want to work in. Find like minded individuals, potentially even see job postings that might only be in that professional association. And if you're still currently a student, I find it super beneficial because a lot of the time you might be able to join these associations either for free or for a discounted price just because you're a student. And it really helps kind of crack through the door a little bit to have people to network with and talk with, which we're going to kind of get a little bit more into. One other thing that I want to point out is there are related resources, but there's also job boards right here too, if you're kind of trying to get a good idea of where to start. Um, yeah, use this to your advantage. And I say don't limit yourself to one specific thing. If you think that you might fall into a different category, try to see if that avenue will help you gain more clarity as well. So that's just a little side tangent that I wanted to show you guys. Okay. So let's keep going. Now, here's a little bit of an interactive portion that I want to do, and it's help identifying what workplace skills you're really learning in school. Okay, so if you guys could pull your phones out, this is going to take a second to load. Perf, and if you can scan this, I want you guys to help me come up with ideas of transferable skills that you might gain from a class, such as a human experience course, like if you read and discussed the Declaration of Independence as part of your human experience. What are some skills that you get by reading and discussing something like the Declaration of Independence for your human experience course? And you should also be able to scan and scroll down and sign in as a guest in order to kind of avoid completely signing in. But really think about, we talked about what kind of skills are transferable skills. What kind of transferable skills do you get from this? When you read and discuss in a class, what kind of skill is that? Anyone want to give it a go? You can use some of those examples that I showed earlier as a cheat sheet. Productive debate conversation. Absolutely. Yeah. Verbal communication, active listening, even like evidence based debate. Absolutely. What else? What else? There, I want you guys to just give it a try. There's going to be three of these. So if you're struggling on this one, I'll kind of go through what I deduced and then we'll give it a go on the other one too. Close reading, absolutely. Like breaking down complex information. Yeah. Active listening, listening to others. Yep. With an influx of information from others, it can help broaden your own understanding. Absolutely. Thank you guys for giving that a fair try. I'm going to go over kind of what I pulled out of it, which might have, it sounds a little bit more complex verbiage, but it gives you a good idea of what it actually breaks down into. It can sound a lot fancier than it actually is. But this is kind of what you guys already said, right? Critical analysis of complex information, evidence based argumentation, analyzing historical perspectives, verbal communication, active listening, synthesizing diverse viewpoints, and questioning assumptions. Fancy words, all to say the things that we just said. So now we know, oh, we can kind of beef up our words a little bit and use those experiences proof. Okay, I'm throwing another one at you. I think this one's going to be a little bit easier. Served as a peer mentor, earning academic credit for helping new students transition to Eckerd. Served as a peer mentor. Leadership skills, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. What else? You can even break down leadership skills. What goes into leadership skills? What does that even mean? Communication skills. Mm-hmm. Definitely strong verbal and written communication, right? I'll give you guys one more minute. Learning new perspectives. Serving as a peer mentor helps you learn new perspectives. I can see that, absolutely. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with being a peer mentor. What about if something were to go wrong? Maybe problem solving too. Time management, absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that. Keep that in mind for the next part of our conversation. We're going to do one more after I kind of show you guys this. So, group leadership and facilitation. Does everyone know what facilitation means? It's kind of like what I'm doing right now, like kind of like instructing a large group. Helping skills, so listening, empathy, and connecting, absolutely. Interpersonal relationship building. Relationship building is a big one. Relationship building is super important for a lot of different companies, right? Because again, it falls into that adaptability piece. Professionalism, initiative, and responsibility. I would say this is a very responsibility heavy role. So, really leaning in what it means to be a leader, to almost have some of those manager like skills, can definitely transfer into that. Okay, let's give this last one a go. Researched and wrote a grant proposal, as well as volunteered for 20 hours of reflective service with a local nonprofit in the course Writing for Social Change. Researched and wrote a grant proposal, as well as volunteered for over 20 hours. There's one keyword that I see right here. Yep, perfect. I was going to say, there's a giveaway already in here, writing skills. That's great. And you can repeat some of our previous ones too, right? Because a transferable skill means it's transferable. Probably found it in a different place as well. Being able to find information and translate that into something others can understand. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's strategic thinking, really. Yeah. And that also falls into our communication skills. A grant proposal also isn't just straight up, right? It takes a little bit of maybe persuasive communication. Cool. I'll give this one more minute. Initiative skills and strategic based thinking. Yeah, persuading and change. Absolutely. And for people who are heavy into communication, like myself, really working on that strategic based thinking and that persuasive communication are something that I use all the time, even in this role. Um, awesome. Thank you guys for participating in that. So let's get into it. Stakeholder management. Didn't even really think about that, but that's kind of true. Yeah. Needs assessment, problem solving, strategic thinking, professional writing, project management, I think was one that we didn't necessarily, yeah, but we kind of talked about that. So this is streamlining a lot of those ideas that we already had into specific types of skills. Collaboration and teamwork. I know majority of you guys already have this skill here as well. So reflecting on your own experiences at Eckerd, do you see that some of these also apply to some of the courses that you guys took as well? And maybe if you're thinking that only some of them, maybe there's places where inside of your professional work, you've also have some of these transferable skills that you can now potentially put on your resume or communicate about yourself. Um, so let's look at some trends of what employers are asking for. Problem solving skills, ability to work in a team, communication skills, initiative, a strong work ethic, technical skills, your verbal communication skills, etc., etc. 88.3% of employers are looking for problem solving skills. And I hope that all of you guys are sitting here thinking, well, I already have that, because you absolutely do. Problem solving skills are something that all of us have developed over and over and over again. And if it's simply just discussing how we do those problem solving skills, and that'll help us in the long run, that's something that we can start to really think about and break down. Where have I shown those skills? How can I talk about them? Where is my strongest strength when it comes to that? Cool. Feel free to take a picture. And again, I can also send this out. But I think this is really important to keep in mind because a majority of companies are asking for a lot of these skills. Cool. All right, let's keep going. So, how do we then put these skills into a bullet point? This is my simple, I guess I would call it simple way of forming a bullet point on your resume. Just three parts to it. So, starting with an action verb, so the skill that you used, then adding that transferable skill and really diving into specifically how you use that skill, and then also adding the result or impact. So, what resulted from you using that skill? So I want to show you guys a resource that I have. And you can find this on the Career Center. So this is the Career Center page. Here, I'll zoom in a little bit, hopefully help. This is the Career Center homepage. And if you come down here on the left side to, sorry, it's going to be actually refine your story. We have a lot of different resources that you can look into, LinkedIn, professional portfolio, interview. But I want to look at the resume and CV and scroll all the way down here. There's an action verbs list right here to help us with developing those bullet points. So here is the action verb list pulled up. Sorry, I'm zooming in so we can all kind of see. And it really just depends on what skill you're trying to talk about. So maybe you're going for more assistant jobs or roles, and your helping skills are something that you really want to talk about. Or they talk about in the job application that they're really looking for someone who has good organizational skills. Then you can pop over to this section and use one of these words to start one of your sentences and kind of get the ball rolling of what you're trying to talk about. Maintained, monitored, operated, organized. There's a few different categories here. So communication and people skills, creative skills, financial leadership, and it'll kind of cover a few different categories so that we're starting with different action verbs on each bullet point. So you're aiming for about 3 to 5 bullet points for relevant experiences and 0 to 2 for less relevant. And I always say stay recent and stay relevant. Try not to repeat any information. If you can say more about it and cover different skills that they're asking for, then you can keep that experience on your resume, like Chick-fil-A or Jamba Juice. Something like, here, let's go back over here for a second. Something like that problem solving skills, definitely found at more of those customer service based roles that we get early on in our life as well, or your ability to work with the team. So it's more about how you translate that into your bullet points and kind of keep it relevant. So I pulled up an example here of how to put one of those classes and projects that you worked on in those classes on your resume. So you're still going to follow the formula action verb plus your skills used. And we'll talk about the quantified results. When I say quantified result, I mean in your results, how can we show scope by saying how many of something we did? So if you're talking about teaching, you taught 15 plus students or you facilitated 15 plus students. That quantifiable number can show, hey, I can handle a lot more than what you might assume. It shows scope for yourself. So if you can put in a quantified number or a quantified result, it always helps. So let's break it down here. We definitely want the title or role. So you see that they put it under research experience. Genetics and molecular biology, they're kind of counting that as their employer or organization. I think you could also put Eckerd College in this area as well. And so the title of this one is going to be the natal homing and migration patterns for green sea turtles in relation to haplotype sequencing. Kind of long, but yeah, definitely gives us a clear idea of what we were working on. And her title, her like official title of what she is going to be a student researcher. So this is how you can kind of put it on there. And at the time that I pulled this, they had not updated it to have an end date. So it was just spring 2026, but then you can put it until the date that it ends. And start with an action verb, investigated, perform, identified, interpreted, skills used, performed DNA extraction, polymers chain reaction, DNA purification. In order to, let's see, in order to, and to kind of explain that in the later bullet points, I would maybe even add it onto each bullet point, but it's for sea turtle migration and conservation. So similar format as if this were an actual job or role, but instead kind of switching the verbiage so that it applies to the class that you're kind of getting that experience in. Okay. So the next kind of section, I'm going to transition more into leveraging your network now. So connecting with people through maybe Triton Track, we have career contacts, getting started with alumni student connections, and really using LinkedIn to your advantage. I'm going to do a quick crash course on these things to kind of show you the best way to do that. So, what I have pulled up here is your Triton track. So, when you log into Triton track, this is the perspective that you're going to get. And the first thing that you can look at right here is those career contacts. So, when we click on here, we go to find career contacts. And really, we have 235 people that we can search through. So, what are the career contacts? These are Eckerd alum or people who just like really love working with Eckerd, who have volunteered to be a point of contact that is ready to go. So, they already know that they signed up for this position to connect with students, future and current, and are kind of sitting, twiddling their thumbs, ready for us to talk to them a little bit about what they did and help grow our network. So, I say play around with the different keywords that you're looking for. Something broad like marine science might need to be more specific as you go on. And I know that someone was talking about and being an oceanographer. Well, this girl is a senior oceanographer faculty specialist at the University of Maryland. Cool. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration for NOAA. So this could totally be a great contact to see how did she get to a senior oceanography spot. Um, Her LinkedIn is here as well. Let's see if this will take me directly to her LinkedIn. So we can even learn more about her. 7 years, it's a long time. But before that, she was a biological science technician too. Before that, she was an operations intern. So this would be a great opportunity to say, hey, I would really love to learn more about how you got to the spot that you currently are as a senior oceanography faculty specialist at the University of Maryland. You can connect, and we basically have a preset message here that you can, I always say, make it more personalized, especially if you have their LinkedIn. You can definitely look into things that they are into. She doesn't have any recent posts, but you still can learn more about what she's done and kind of mention that in your message as a reason to connect. So, hey, I'm an Eckerd College student as well. She already knows that because you're connecting on here. But if you were to connect on something like LinkedIn, that would be that connecting piece that gets someone to want to respond to you back. Something that you guys have in common. Maybe you're commenting on something that they had done and you're reflecting on that, or it's your Eckerd College connection. So you type it in here, you put in your information, and then you connect with them. And when they want to connect with you back, they're going to pop up in your interested contact section so that you can really keep up that relationship. This is a faster way to do it. I also want to show you guys exactly how I would do it on LinkedIn. So if you weren't to go from our student contacts and you wanted to just go through Eckerd College in general, or anything that you have a similar connection with people with, so you can even look up specific groups. So marine science group, just for an example. Ooh, women leadership in marine technology and science. There's 866 members in here. So you could join this group, and this could be your connecting piece. Hey, I actually found you from the Women Leadership in Marine Technology and Science group, and I saw that you had a really good take about blah, blah, blah. I was wondering if you would want to meet with me and talk a little bit more about how you got here in your professional life, and just so that I can get some advice from someone who's already in the field. Again, these are your future colleagues. These are definitely people who want to help you to help with their work, right? So they have something to gain from you as well. They have a connection to gain from you as well. So I hope that that kind of helps relieve some of the pressure. I'm going to show you when I go to a page like the Eckerd College page, for an example, I'll kind of go down to the alumni section right over here and search this way. Oceanography. Let's see what comes up. Hey, 164 alumni. So there's some students on here for sure, some present students. Ooh, Coastal and Marine Sciences Geophysics Market Lead. Cool. And play around with what you're searching for, but it would be kind of similar to the same thing that we did through the career context, plus a few extra steps. So let's say you found someone that you're really interested in connecting with. You click connect. When you click connect, add a note that's as personalized as that message that I showed you from the career contacts on Triton Track. You want it to be personable. You want it to kind of really dive into your relationship and what you're looking for. And you never really want to ask for a job. We're not asking for a job. You wouldn't want someone to ask you for a job. You want someone to ask more about what you're passionate about. You would be more willing to talk about what you're passionate about versus if you can get someone a job or not. Additionally, if they cannot provide you with kind of an idea of maybe specifically what you're going into, you can ask them if they have any contacts that can lead you a little bit closer or that might have job opportunities after maybe meeting once or twice. And their friend is another connection for you. Okay. I left a link here to the alumni student connections in case you guys wanted to connect with more alumni. So feel free to scan that if you'd like. Other things we have are career fairs and employer events. We have these on our websites. Again, informational interviews are just those interviews that you're talking about with them, just more about their life and how they got there. And we talked a little bit about professional associations as well. Okay, I wanted to give you guys a good example of how you can format these to try and make that connection seem as least stressful as possible. So here are two good examples. Of course, I showed you the one that was already preset on Triton Track. Here are a few other examples. So I hope you're doing well. I'm a fellow Eckerd alum and planning to apply for a role at fill in the blank. So again, you could search by company and find someone through that company and let them know that you kind of connected with them through that. I believe my skills in blank and knowledge of blank make me a strong candidate for the role. Would you be willing to meet at a further date? Or I say meet for a 15-minute Zoom. That's pretty low stakes. Meet for coffee if you're in an area close to them. Helps build a face-to-face rapport. Here's an even more in-depth one. Dear so-and-so, I hope you're doing well. I recently applied for a blank position at blank and wanted to follow up on my application. So this is after you apply. This is how you would kind of, or like talk to them. This can be more of like a follow-up email. I wanted to sneak this in there because I think that it is important to kind of learn, even after you're done with the conversation, you should be following up with people and kind of reiterating the information that you found or discussed with them about. Cool. So lastly, I want to talk about staying organized and kind of following up with like life after Eckerd. So I wanted to show you that really quick. Again, here's the Career Center website. At the very bottom, we have this life after Eckerd page, and it'll break down a few other things for you. So understanding employer benefits. This could also be a conversation piece that you have with the connections that you're trying to make. Hey, I saw you worked at this company. How were those benefits? Um, finding a place to live, but especially the searching for a job and using some of these resources down here could help you kind of keep your organization a little bit more clear. And I think that just elaborates after the conversations. You can make notes such as like on this search activity sheet of when you followed up with them and how you can follow up with them again. So for an example, if you look down at the bottom here, there's different tabs. So outreach log, this is kind of the one that I wanted to highlight for you guys. And put the date, the person you contacted, if you're going to follow up again type thing. Okay, cool. So that's all I really had today. Um, I also really want to open up the floor for any questions that anyone has, or if you need to leave, that's totally fine. But if you'd like to stick around for questions, I would love to answer them. And if you'd like to book an appointment with me, I left my code here at the end so that you guys can make appointments. But thank you so much. And does anyone have any questions? Okay. If you don't have any questions, that's totally fine. My email is not up here, but it's going to be my last name, ar@eckerd.edu. So schemos ar@eckerd.edu. If you guys have any questions, you can email me there as well. Oops. I see someone in the chat. Can you review our resumes? If you would like to, that's going to be something that's a little bit more tedious. If you would like to book an appointment with me, I can totally do that in an appointment. Absolutely. Anyone else? Okay. Well, awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me, and I'll see you guys soon. Thanks. Bye.